The hour, and there's something we haven't done in a while. Let's call it Spin It Forward. We don't get to talk to Jeff Darlington that often as much as we would like to because he's always at Augusta or some fancy place like that. But we remind you now he has this ridiculous ability to spin anything that has centrifugal force. And so we will have him doing a little spinning, and then, Jeff, we will ask you to spin it forward on a couple of draft scenarios and what it might mean. Jeff, if the Steelers draft a quarterback somewhat early in this, what would that mean for the hometown Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think it would mean that they're assuming, or not assuming, they are operating as if they might not get Aaron Rodgers back. And hey, speaking of Augusta, I got to tell you, I was there and people are still talking about this. I was over there standing by the umbrellas. Someone told me that they're hearing that maybe Aaron Rodgers is keeping a close eye on what the Steelers do before deciding whether he comes back or not. And right now, they're not doing a ton. So it will be very curious to see if what they do in the draft is enough to lure Aaron Rodgers back. Certainly something to keep an eye on. Maybe not a full indicator, Greeny, but something to at least watch.
Absolutely. And of course, I say hometown because the draft is in Pittsburgh and we're expecting it to be just bananas there. So whatever they do, obviously will be watched with even more intensity locally at the draft than anything else. Nick, here's what I keep coming back to, and I want to make it clear. I'm not an insider. I'm not telling you I've spoken to Aaron. I haven't talked to Aaron Rodgers in years. He is not giving me any insight into what he's thinking. But one of the things I might be watching for if I'm him is I want to make sure they don't draft a quarterback in round one. If I'm Aaron, I don't think I feel like dealing with that. If they take Ty Simpson at 21, and the overwhelming expectation is that they will not. But if I'm Aaron, I might be waiting to make sure they don't do that. Because if they do that, I think that might make this a lot less fun. Neat.
Yeah, well, the reaction to if they take Ty Simpson, considering that it is going to be in Pittsburgh, that might change my mind if I'm Aaron Rodgers. If they erupt in cheers, I might feel like I don't want to come back there. But honestly, he has to know that his career is going to end at some point. I think the Steelers should want him back given the situation that he is in, but he's not the long-term answer. I can't imagine. I would hope that Aaron Rodgers is not looking at this thinking if they draft a young quarterback, that means I don't belong there. If they draft a young quarterback, that means that you won't be there in 2, 3, 4 years, which I assume he's not planning on anyway. So I don't really think at this point drafting a young quarterback should impact Aaron Rodgers' decision, especially if it's a player like Ty Simpson, who didn't have a lot of reps in college, so people project will take some time to develop.
Greeny, I see the exact inverse of what you just said, which is if I'm the Steelers, if I don't know by a week from yesterday, that greatly enhances the chances of taking a quarterback. I mean, what else does Aaron Rodgers need to know? Is he coming back? If he is, obviously he's the starter. He's Aaron Rodgers. So if he's not back by next Thursday, if we were thinking about Ty Simpson, we got to think about it even more.
I understand. Let me be clear. I'm not in any way suggesting Aaron Rodgers, as Jeff continues spinning, I'm not suggesting he's intimidated by the prospect of Ty Simpson or anybody else. I'm just saying, do you feel like being the quarterback on a team that might not be that good, where the fans are all screaming and yelling, we want to see the kid come in and play quarterback? If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I might be waiting out another situation. Look, I don't know what he wants to do. This is a man with unlimited options in life, Dominique. But if I'm Aaron Rodgers, one of the things he could do is sit back and wait for a better team to suffer inevitably that injury that happens and calls him in desperation and says, Aaron, come in here and let's make a run at this thing. I have no idea if that's what he's thinking, but it would make sense to me. Neek.
My guess is that these people have each other's phone numbers and they know what's up. My guess is Aaron Rodgers was probably expressed to them that he wants to come back, but there's no reason to commit to it until after we get past the draft so that we know that the decision is I'm the guy. And I imagine that the Steelers are saying, like, yeah, we want him back, but should something happen, like there's some circumstances that changes where they are in the draft or they go up and they make another decision, then they hold the ability to make those shifts at this point. But my guess is sometime after the draft, Aaron Rodgers, assuming that the Steelers don't make some big change at quarterback, he'll come sign up. It's just kind of a matter of time. There's no reason for him to commit today, so he's not going to.
All right, let me get one more in here with you, Jeff. People are watching the Eagles. If they draft a wide receiver at 23, go ahead and spin that. Spin it forward for me. If the Eagles draft a wide receiver at 23, what would that mean for them?
I wish you understood. I'm not trying to distract you here. We're trying to keep with the segment. But hey, listen, I do think that A.J. Brown certainly is part of the Eagles now, but I think this is a team that has to operate with the mindset that he will not be week one of the season. And as such, yes, they could definitely take a wide receiver with their first-round pick. I think if that happens, you can do your own logic here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that A.J. Brown, if they don't, will be on the roster. What I'm saying here is that Howie Roseman has to go into this draft, whether he winds up with A.J. Brown or not, operating under the pretext that he will not have him. That is what people around the league believe right now. That is ultimately how I think Howie Roseman is going to approach this.
Does it make sense to you, Neek?
Yeah, it makes sense. What doesn't make sense is why Jeff stopped spinning. I don't know. I thought that was the point. I thought we were spinning it forward
Listen,
the whole
I'm trying
time.
not to distract you.
I think they made the moves to set up to have Dontavian Wicks there to be able to survive whether they get a receiver in their draft or not. And I think A.J. Brown is on his way to a new location where he can maybe spin it forward to another championship.
I was the one, by the way, who said, tell Jeff to stop spinning when he's making all of his points because it's so distracting. I stopped listening to what he's saying, and I'm just watching him spinning.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
A laptop on his finger. He's getting mixed messages right now.
It's called spin it
Give me a final word on the Eagles, Mike T.
I say they go offensive line. Dominique said in the previous hour, the offensive line is...
See, this is my point. I'm trying to have a football conversation here, and Mike Tannenbaum is suggesting that the Eagles take an offensive line, and Dominique Foxworth is laughing over what he's saying because Jeff Darlington is spinning a laptop on his finger, which like 4 human beings on planet Earth could do, and there's no way to conduct a serious conversation
First
with
of all,
him.
Greeny,
It would be like a
it's
phone
your
going
show,
off.
man. It's your show. I never did this party trick until you made me. Okay, this was just for my friends at 2 a.m.
Now
all of a sudden
everyone-
you got me doing it on national television.
Hope everyone's understanding how this thing sometimes goes off the rails. And all I can do is say that speaking of off the rails, tomorrow in Vegas, the time has finally come. Number 23, General Manager Howie Roseman says he tends to overcompensate when it comes to his draft day approach because he thinks about his first-round draft misses every day. And that aggressive approach, though, has helped him land late first-round prospects like Devontae Smith and Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and Quinyon Mitchell. None of those coming in the top 3 or 4 picks where you usually get the top-line players. Jeff, what are we looking at here with the Eagles right now? If the Eagles draft a wide receiver at number 23, the world will immediately make assumptions about A.J. Brown. What is your sense of all this?
As they should. I would imagine, from speaking to people around the NFL, they do anticipate the Eagles operating from a place that A.J. Brown will not be on their roster week 1. Now, certainly things could change, but when you're going into a draft with a player that you're waiting until after June 1st to potentially trade, you have to operate within those mindsets. You have to think about what is our team going to look like without A.J. Brown if and when we trade him. So if they take a wide receiver, absolutely come to that conclusion. I also do think, though, even if they don't take the wide receiver, that is not a suggestion that A.J. Brown will be sticking around. This is a team that will be operating in this draft as if they eventually will be moving A.J. Brown, whether they ultimately do it or not.
And Dominique, this is now we're getting a little closer to declarative than we've had in the past on this whole situation in Philly. So once and for all, is that the right move? I've had people up here tell me you don't get better by trading away a player that good. What is your sense of that in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they've made the decision that they're going that direction or not. It felt like they got to a point at the end of last year that it was clear for everyone, and they've already started operating the way that Jeff's talking about. They brought in Dontavian Wicks to replace A.J. Brown should he move on. They already have Devontae Smith out there, and they've added Hollywood Brown. Like, they have the receiving core to pass on a receiver in the first round if they want to, and go with maybe O-line or an edge rusher to reinstate that power that they had with their front 4 on defense and with their front 5 on offense.
I want to give one more name to everybody, Mike T, and I'll let you do it. I think you mentioned it yesterday. If they're looking for a bigger physical receiver late in the first round of this draft, not that anyone replaces A.J. Brown because he's a great player, but someone to sort of do some of the things that he does, there may be that guy in this draft.
Denzel Boston, University of Washington, 4-year starter, big physical receiver. He profiles like A.J. Brown. Again, not saying he's going to be.
Right.
But to what Nick just talked about, he's a perfect complement to the undersized quickness of Hollywood Brown, Devontae Smith. So I know we're in the speculation game. If they would draft Denzel Boston, not saying they're going to, but if they did, that would be a very meaningful sign about the future of A.J. Brown in Philly.
It is such a great little moment in sports because we got the NFL draft next week, and we got the NBA playoffs underway, and we have the Stanley